Hey everyone, it's Phil Hall of West Fair Communications, and welcome to the next installment of our ongoing West Fair video conversations. Now, you're obviously watching us online, and it seems lately everybody's online. Uh, Sort of a do-it-yourself media, but do-it-yourself is not the same thing as do it correctly. And if you want to be a web star, which I don't think I am yet, you may want to take advice from our guest, who is a bona fide web star, Jennifer Pate. And Jennifer, you have a new series coming up. This is your second series online. Tell us about this one, please.
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And you're a bona fide web star, absolutely. My new series is called At Home with Jennifer. It's under the umbrella of my brand Feel Ageless, which is really about preventative care in every way as we get older, from finance, beauty, fashion, health. But right now, what's more important is what we're doing at home with our families, because we are all at home. So I'm really fortunate to have partnered with Henkel, which is a huge brand. Everybody knows Snuggle and Dial Soap and all the important brands that we need to take care of our families. And so it was a perfect partnership, and we've created some content, and it lives at askteamclean.com, which is Henkel's new site. It's very exciting. But we're really talking about is what we're going through. We're all at home. There's really no roadmap for us. No one knows what to do in a pandemic. No one knows what to do with this crazy world. And so what I'm trying to do is really create conversation, information, and help people to know that they're not alone.
Yeah, no, prior to this pandemic, maybe my ignorance is showing, but I never heard of Zoom, or if I did, it just didn't resonate with me. I did a couple of interviews on Skype, which were okay, but all of a sudden, nobody wants to see me in person anymore, and everyone keeps saying, "Are you on Zoom?" So, no, let me download, and here I am, ba boom, ba boom. But I have found many people aren't quite comfortable doing things on Zoom or Teams. I want to give Microsoft a shout out as well, or any of the other video conferencing sites. GoToWebinar, I think there are several of them. Uh, what I have found from my experience, Jennifer, is a lot of people get on camera and they become sort of automatons. They don't blink, and they speak in a voice like this. And watching this, I find myself dreaming that I'm on a bus in Tibet and not paying attention to the. For people who are going to be going on camera, whether it's a webinar or just doing a conversation like we're doing, what are some of your professional tips for having an engaging conversation online?
Well, first of all, it's really weird. Okay, this is weird, right? That we're
Yeah.
not sitting across from each other. I love I love being around people. I love talking. I love seeing their personalities. I think the key is, don't look at yourself, look at the person you're talking to. Like right now, there is a little box. If I look in, I can see myself. That's a disaster, right? Look into somebody's eyes, while they're talking. So right now, I'm looking at you, and the more you do it, the more comfortable you get as well. And just, I think, look at the person and listen to the person. Don't look at yourself is I think one of the biggest keys, because I think that's, can you imagine having a conversation all day with a mirror in front of you? Immediately, right? Well, that's what we're doing, right? It's weird. So yeah, I think that just, and be yourself and don't worry about it. One thing I think that's really beautiful about this time is it's sort of like, in The Wizard of Oz, where the wizard is just a little guy behind a curtain. Well, I think that curtain's been lifted, and I think a lot of people feel vulnerable. They're in their homes. I'm sitting, I had to text my daughter who's doing remote school downstairs, please be quiet, have an interview coming up, praying the dog doesn't start barking, right? But that may happen. So you're much more vulnerable. So it's this weird sort of paradox, right? Where we're distant, right? Because you're sitting somewhere very far from me, but yet it's very vulnerable. You're in your personal space. So I think that there's a beauty in that, though. I think that this sort of curtain, proverbial curtain of Oz being torn off, creates an open heart and an open connection. So there's, you know, yeah, I would say it's okay to be vulnerable and don't look at yourself. Those are my 2 tips.
Mhm. What about the background? I've seen people have these artificial screens, very bad CGI put up where they seem to be blending into the background. I think there was a case of a woman who I turned into a talking potato because something went wrong with the software. Is it okay just to have a background like I have here, as long as it doesn't look broken down or there's nothing offensive on the walls?
I prefer real. You know, I mean, I've been on calls and all I'm looking at is that person in space? Are they really in Tahiti? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I know they're in Iowa. I know they're not in Tahiti. So, you know, I mean, listen, if somebody, you know, I think that whatever is comfortable for you, but I think it's a distraction. I think that right now I've got a little home office
Mhm.
outside my bedroom, right? I've, you know, and it's real. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm all for authenticity in general. You know, authenticity of what you're going through this day, who you are, where you live. There's no shame. So if somebody wants to put a kitschy background, just know that they're going to be looking at your background.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that you have your daughter and you have the dog at home. I'm finding that a lot of people are a lot more tolerant of real life interruptions. I'm reminded of that video, I think it was from
Yes.
last year, where some economist was talking about the South Korean
Yes.
economy and his kid and wife came bursting.
The wife is like crawling in, like grabbing the kid. Well, it's funny because I've actually been working from home. So prior to Feel Ageless is my brand now with the at home with Jennifer with Henkel, right? Before that, I had a show called Mom Life, Jen and Barb Mom Life, which we did for 5 seasons. You know, I worked with 48 brands, Webby Award, et cetera, et cetera. And I did that all from my home because I had small children. And so for me, I've been doing this. I've been working from home and juggling family life and work for so many years that, you know, so I've been doing this for so long. And once again, that's the beauty of it. I mean, the reason why that clip went viral was because here's this guy buttoned up, serious information, right? And the reality of his kids and the wife and the whole thing. And your just heart went, oh my God, I've been there, you know?
Well, 5 seasons is extremely impressive. And I know there are a lot of folks watching who are saying to themselves, I'm better than these guys. I should be doing my own show. But it's not easy just to get guests for 1 season. This takes a lot of work. For how many hours go in of planning for each half hour you have online?
Well, you know, it really depends. And, you know, I think the guests are easy to get than the sponsors. That's more interesting, getting brands on board, which I've worked with now. Well, with Henkel, it'll be my 49th brand that I've worked with. Getting brands on board to want to partner with you and believe in your content. But, you know, I don't know if I can put an hour amount on it because, you know, I'm somebody, I work for a few hours here, then I'm making lunch for the kids and a few hours here. So, I think if you love what you do, I don't count hours because I'm sort of enjoying the process. You know, for me, it's really about putting out content that is a little information, which is important, a little bit of fun, and helping people know that they're not alone. So that kind of recipe for content for me is really fun. So I don't, you know, I can't really count the hours, but it's because I'm so passionate about creating content and helping people know that they're not alone. And that's sort of, you know, that's the whole thing right now as everybody's home during this pandemic. And, you know, maybe there's that person who is all going beautifully. It's the best time ever. You know, like, it's sort of like, you know, you have that friend who's like, I don't know why I can't get, you know, I just don't gain weight. I can eat whatever I want. You're like, okay, gonna kill you,
Yeah.
but you're right. Okay, so by the way,
They're not my friends, trust me.
no, me neither. Don't like those people, but no, but you know what I'm saying? So the truth
Yeah,
is, even at home in a pandemic,
yeah.
those who are like, I've learned 2 new languages and I've rearranged my closet and I'm bonding with my family. I'm like, I don't know who those people are, but the reality is, right, most of us are struggling, you know, really, really, really struggling, truthfully. you know, financially, it's a lot of pressure. A lot of people's jobs have been, you know, either furloughed, they haven't been able to make money, the kids at home, worried about health, older people in their lives. There's all of this real stuff. And so, you know, giving people, knowing that we're all going through this together. And I'm really lucky, and I'll go back to Henkel again, having a partnership with somebody who believed in that concept. And also, when, by the way, these will live on AskTeamClean.com, but I also work with a company, Blockboard, who distributes, Matt Wasserloff, who's wonderful, who distributes my content. So when you're kind of talking about people who want to share information, and do, you know, web series or content, I think that, first of all, you just got to do it. You know, you've got to put yourself out there, and, but having partnerships with either brands or distribution, that's a little more of the challenging part.
Well, we really do have to give two thumbs up to Henkel for going into this territory, because this is still a relatively new media. And Henkel could be putting their marketing prowess behind print advertising or television or radio, put it on Google Ads, wherever, but they're here. And the fact that they believe in this medium and believe in you in particular, it's quite a progressive company.
You know what? I've been working with a couple people over there, Caroline Chittenden and Ken Krasnow, and they've been amazing. I mean, they believed in this from the beginning. Now, I obviously have the history of all those years of mom life, but I've created something new, and producing during a pandemic and social distancing and getting in the editing room and creating a look that is fresh and new, and having Henkel behind me. They've been an incredible partner, and I'm really, really grateful. And I'm really proud of the episodes we did, and I hope people come to AskTeamClean.com to see the content that we've just created, because it's about getting your family to do chores, if you can get your family to do chores, you know, the sort of stress and anxiety that we're feeling and how we deal with that. And then one is just really fun, and it's about sleep, and not the boring sleep. Like, if you have a partner in your life and you have to sleep in the same room with them, it's me and my husband and another couple, and we talk about just what that's like, to like everybody's little sleep differences. So that's a fun one we have on as well.
I gotta ask you, how do you get people to do chores? Because I will freely admit, when time comes for chores, if I'm at my mother's place and she says, Philip, I need you to do this, and it's like, oh, the dog needs to be walked, and the dog's looking at me like we were just out a half hour ago. I mean, how can you get a slacker like me to do chores?
Bribes and threats. My professional opinion. Now, I mean, we could give you a gold star. We could, but yeah, I mean, you know, really bribes and threats. Bribe, like, hey, if you walk the dog, you know, I'm going to make the cookies you love. I don't know. I mean, you've got to just, and hope that people actually help. There's actually a great piece of advice that one of my guests gave me was be a citizen of your home. Now for you, I'm talking more for, you know, for kids, but making people feel like that everybody has to carry their weight. And what I learned in my interview was that you're supposed to start them very young. I have 2 teenagers, so I may have messed up a little bit, because some of these people I talk to have their little kids doing way more than my kids were doing. So yeah, start them young.
How do your teenagers feel about having a mother who's a web personality?
You know what? They have been so supportive, and they're really amazing, you know. And I think that I think more than a web personality is watching a mother who's juggled motherhood and working, you know, and that motherhood always comes first for me. And I've been very fortunate to sort of put my foot on and off the gas of work with where they are in their lives. But they've been really supportive and loving. And I really, you know, for me, it's more about role modeling. What am I showing my kids? And once again, my family and motherhood is the most important thing. You know, and I also do love my work. And I actually wrote a book called The Mothers of Reinvention. And it's a guide for women to have something that they're passionate about outside of all their traditional roles. So, and I don't, any woman who is a stay-at-home mom, Gloria Steinem, who I've interviewed, she corrected me. I told her at one point that my mother was a stay-at-home mom, and I said something about she didn't work. And she looked at me and she said, she absolutely worked in the home. So when I say that people need something outside of all their traditional roles, I don't mean everybody needs to be a CEO of a company. That is just false. What I am saying, though, is that for children to see their mother, and for you as a woman or a man, but I think that traditionally, women struggle a little more with the motherhood work balance. I mean, I know there's some men who would argue that, but I think if they see that you have things that you're passionate about, whether it's philanthropy, whether it is a job, whether it is speaking another language, a sport. So hopefully, I hope that my children are seeing a woman who is a full human being.
I know when I was a kid, which is going back more than a few years, Gloria Steinem was an icon in my home. My mother was a single mother who was working and raising a family. Who do you see as the role models for today's kids?
Okay, my biggest one is Michelle Obama.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, I feel like she epitomizes strength, intelligence, care, love, compassion. She just really, to me, if I had to look at somebody that I view as just and real, for her to come out during this pandemic and get on camera and say that she suffered somewhat with depression or being down, that, what a beautiful human being to be able to be so real. So she is my absolute. And by the way, Gloria Steinem is still amazing and an absolute icon as well.
Indeed. And she's had a profound impact on so many people, as I imagine you have too. What have been some of the most profound responses you've gotten from your audience over the years?
I think that when people have said to me, oh, God, I didn't know other people went through that, and thank you so much, it really helped me through my day. I think that any person who feels like it gave them a laugh or felt like it helped them, and there have been many of those along the way, that is what it's all about.
Excellent. And the new series, how many episodes are going to be in each season?
Well, right now, the series we did under Asking Clean with Henkel is just 3 episodes. But if you come visit me on my social media, which is Feel Ageless, there's feelageless.com, which is the website. Social media on Instagram and Facebook is Feel Ageless. And I've done about 10 other full episodes and all sorts of other little content that I have living there as well. So anyone wants to, take a deep dive, come visit me at Feel Ageless. But the episodes we have right now with Henkel live at AskTeamClean.com, and will be on my Feel Ageless sites very soon too.
And also make another mention of your book, The Mothers of Reinvention, which has a bit of a Frank Zappa title.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yeah, I wrote that with my old business partner, Barbara Machen, who I did Jen and Barb Mom Life with. Mm-hmm. And we interviewed, we interviewed probably 40 women. I think we highlighted 10 or 15 in the book. And we talked to different women. Some were new moms, some were empty nesters. Everybody was a mother, and talked to them about their reinventions. And some of, and everybody had a story. And so it's very relatable. It's a way for women to find, as I, sort of repeating, but find something that they're passionate about. And so much of it is, the tips I can give you with that are, sometimes people don't know what that is, right? They'll say, well, I don't know what I want to do. I know I want to do something. And I talked to a friend the other day whose kids are now teenagers, and she's having that feeling. First thing is, what do you love to do and what are you good at? What do people compliment you for? And then how many hours in a day do you really have to give to that thing? Some people have this idea, let's say they want to do a web series. Well, how many hours do you really have to do that in a day? How much money do you actually need if it's a business? And then who's in your backyard? I always go with, who do you know? Who can help you? Everything I've always done has really been kind of a phone call away, or a friend of a friend. Who do you have access to? So I think that what are you passionate about? What do people compliment you on? How much time do you have, and who do you know? That's the beginning of change.
Well, Jennifer, unfortunately, we've come to the end of today's episode, but thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. And also thank you to the folks at Henkel for Jennifer's new project. Can't wait to see it.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Okay, folks, we'll see you again next week. Have yourselves a good one. Take care.